Hey everyone, how's it going tonight? Woo! Okay, not much, huh? Glad to see you all out. See you all made it. I'm excited about PhoneGap tonight. So the folks from PhoneGap reached out to me a couple months ago just to say, hey, can we do something special for AngularJS? Who out here has used PhoneGap before? We got 3, 4, 5, 6, somewhere around there. How about Ionic? Do you know Ionic runs on PhoneGap? So Ionic is awesome because it's you can use Angular technology. Wow. Look at me fumbling on words. You can use Angular to code your mobile app and then just run it on iOS, Android, or Windows Phone. Who has a Windows Phone? Who has one but isn't willing to own up to it? All right, that's awesome. I love Windows Phone. I don't have one right now, but I used to. So, all right, tonight, a couple announcements. Got to remind you, bathrooms are down the hall. So if you just go straight all the way down the hall until you hit the outside door, you'll see a fireplace on the right. Take a left. You'll go back this way, and they're over there. So clear down the hall, and then to your left. And then I think that's it. So tonight we've got Sam Balleza talking about Ionic. He's going to do a lightning talk. And then Steve Gill from the PhoneGap team, he's going to do a special PhoneGap presentation. So just chatting with him before, he's been doing PhoneGap for the past 7 years, you say, Steve? 6 years, so even before it was with Adobe. So I'm excited to have him on board here. And without further ado, turn it over to Sam. Oh, wait. Oh, dude, totally forgot. 2 very important things. Huge round of applause to Workfront for providing the food tonight. I love the food at these. Yeah, we can all clap for food. And to Adobe for providing the space. Thank you to our sponsors. All right.
Okay. Can everyone hear me okay? Yes? Okay, awesome. Let's see. They want me to share my screen. Am I sharing it? Oh. Somebody else's screen is being shared right now. My name is Sam Balleza, and I work at Client. Oh, there we go. I work at Client Success with Ryan, and he asked me to come here today and just talk about my experiences with Ionic, the Ionic framework. Share my screen, display 2. Okay, should be good. Sorry, I'm just bringing out my PowerPoint. Okay, so I'm here to talk about the Ionic framework. Just a little side story, a little history of how I got involved with Ionic. We're a startup, so we are figuring out different traditions and events and things that we want in our business, and we decided to have hackathons, traditional hackathons. And so during the week of Thanksgiving, we had a hackathon, and we had to either group up with somebody or by ourselves, build an application that would, in a matter of a couple of days, something that would actually benefit the company. And so I decided that I wanted to make a small little app, a mobile app, that had some of the functionality of our flag product, and that was the client's application. And so it's just a small little module in our application. And so I was like trying to decide what I wanted to do, whether I wanted to write it on Android in Java or Objective-C for iOS. And Ryan said, why not just make an application that will run on both platforms, including Windows. And whoa, why did it go to that screen? Anyways, so he introduced me to Ionic, said that you can build this hybrid application that would run, that you can use technologies that are used in building web applications and launch it on Android, iOS, and on Windows. So what is Ionic? I had to do some research on that. And basically, it's a development framework that allows you to build hybrid mobile apps. What is a hybrid app? It's basically a web application that can access the resources of your mobile platform. And one of the things I decided was, or one of the questions that I had was, why not just build a native app? I'm fluent in Java, and so why not just build a, wow, it just keeps moving by itself. I also don't really, I'm not very familiar with PowerPoint, obviously. So it keeps moving the screen. So bear with me for a second. And I asked myself that question, and I did some research, and I guess it's a lot faster initially to deploy to the market when you build a hybrid app. It's more portable. You can build it on multiple platforms. It has a lot of support, and there's a lot of plugins, and supposedly it's a lot cheaper. This graph comes straight out of Salesforce, and so they just make a comparison between native, amongst the native hybrid and HTML applications. But I don't have too much time, so I'm actually just going to start by showing you how quickly you can create an app using the Ionic framework. First, you have to have a Node installed on your computer. You need, at the most, version 4, because 5 doesn't work right now. So you just go to nodejs.org if you don't have that and download it. And then, actually, I'll just show you my screen. Oh yeah, this right here is actually it's called Ionic Lab, and you can pretty much create an app using this. Let's see here. But we won't go, it's actually bugged, at least on my computer. So we're just going to use the command line to do it and make sure that you guys can see it. So I ran npm install global Ionic, and so now we have Ionic on, actually, test. So once you've installed Ionic, the next step is to install Cordova. So basically what this Ionic Labs does is it executes these commands in the background, and you have a more user-friendly interface to create your project and emulate it. And but I think it's the version that I have on here is bugged, so sorry for that. Okay, so once we have that installed, all you have to do is Ionic start, and then you can name your project. We're just going to call it test, and then you can actually specify a template that you want to use, or you can just start one from scratch. But we're just going to use a template, like I think it's tabs. So it's creating Can you guys see that? Sorry, probably. Create Ionic. No, that's fine. don't care about creating an account. What that does is you can actually create an account on their website, and you can view your applications that you've written in Ionic via their website. So the next step is, now that we've created it, we want to either add an iOS platform or an Android one. So I'm just going to go ahead and do an Android one. So you just say Ionic platform, add Android. Let's see here, file directory. Android. I did write that. That's interesting. Oh, there we go. Ionic. I have to navigate to the actual project. There we go. Okay, so we're going to be running on Android, and so the next step is to build it. And the reason why I'm going through this is I just want to show you how really fast it is to set up a project and start playing with it. Okay, so it built it, and now we just, I think you have to run the simulator. Okay, so we don't need to do it for Android, never mind. Okay. So, oh yeah, so one cool feature is that you can just, if you have the Android SDK installed, you just type in this command, and it will run an Android emulator on your machine. So you can view the, wait. Give it a second. If that doesn't work, I'll just, I have it set up and ready on iOS, so we'll just show that. Yeah, so it's not working on Android, so I'll just show you the iOS simulator. But first, I wanted to show you kind of the directory structure. When you do build, it creates these files. Bower is just your Bower dependencies. The config XML is just your Cordova configuration. And then and then you have your plugins as well. But you also have this directory called www, and that's where your application is. Your JavaScript code, your libs folder, CSS, images, all those things. So let's see. Can't see my mouse. There it is. So if you look at cd www. As you can see here, you have your JavaScript. So let's go into the JavaScript and then look at the apps.js. Just look at it right here. And as you can see, you can use Angular to build your app. I have an app that I prepared, and it's actually the emulator is iOS and not Android, but it kind of looks the same. But this is what it looks like right here. I'll put that on a black background. Okay. So I'm going to log out. So basically, we name this app Client Success Rolodex. So all it does is you log in. And then it loads clients and their phone numbers, the last time they were engaged and emailed or spoken to on the phone or texted. And then you can actually, if you click on this on your phone, it actually accesses it launches the phone app or the email app that you have on your phone. On Android, you have to edit the configurations. Some code here that we wrote for this. Just so you can see, I'm not an Angular expert. I paired up in creating this project. I wrote the backend services and the directives and controllers, and the person who's an expert at CSS and HTML did all of the front end work. So basically, you can create an application without any knowledge with only knowing how to do HTML, CSS, and Angular JavaScript. So as you can see here, we have our controllers set up, our services, and you guys are all familiar with that, so I don't need to go on. And here's your CSS. And then last but not least, after you have tested this out, you can deploy it. And all you have to do here is, where's my, okay. So if you have any plugins just that are unnecessary, like debugging ones, just remove them, uninstall them. But if you want to build it, all you have to do is type in Cordova, build, release, and we're going to do an Android version of it. Actually, an Android. So it'll build an APK file. And then if you want to add a splash screen to it, ours has a splash screen. It's just our logo. Then you just need to go into the root directory of your project and add the image there. It accepts PNG, PSD, or AI files. Okay, so it's done. So it said that it built an APK, and it just shows you the directory where it went. And then you can put that on your phone and test it out. And that's it. It's really simple, really easy. And for someone I'm mostly a backend engineer, I write backend services. It was pretty simple. And so for those of you who are experts at Angular, you'll have no trouble starting an app. And that's it. Does anybody have any questions? No? Okay, cool.
Test, test, test. You guys can hear me? Loud enough? Excellent. Just joining the Connect room, or getting it to share my screen, I should say. Do you guys know if I can mirror, if I can set it so it's not mirroring? Do you know that? If I could make it so it doesn't mirror my screen, so it's like a separate screen? Do I go Windows? Okay. command space.
Type display. Sure. It should come up with. Yeah, hide that for now.
Show mirroring options. Doesn't seem to recognize a second screen. Wait, here we go. Here it is.
There it is. Good.
Perfect. Wrong one. All right, I think that looks good. Everyone in Connect, you're seeing just the one screen? Looking good? You're getting both. Well, that doesn't sound right. Working at Adobe, you think I should have this down? There you go. Looking good? Awesome. Now I seem to have lost it. Where'd it go? Sorry about this, everybody. It's been a while since I've been up here presenting. Oh, man. This happens so often. I've been to too many conferences. It's my screen. This is the one I'm sharing. There we go. All right. That only took a few minutes. Sorry about that. All right, so Adobe PhoneGap. I know Ryan asked you guys earlier how many people have used it. Didn't seem like there's a lot of hands in here, which is good because I'll make sure to go over every excruciating detail in this talk. Who am I? Let's just get started with that. I'm Steve Gill. I work at Adobe out in San Francisco. I've been working on PhoneGap and Cordova for over 6 years. I like to play hockey. It's kind of the Canadian in me coming out. You can find me on Twitter or GitHub. Feel free. I'll be sharing this slide deck after. I'll give it to Ryan so he can give it to you all. And if you do want to follow along the live deck, if you click that, if you type in that URL, you can actually follow along as I move through. But if not, you'll get a copy of these at the end anyways. Current work. So currently I work on the Cordova CLI, which Sam just used when he did npm install -g Cordova. Ionic uses Cordova as well. And I work on the PhoneGap CLI. So whenever you're in your command line and you go PhoneGap create, PhoneGap deploy, I'll be going over all those commands in a bit. But that's one of the tools that I work on. And both of those tools are written in Node.js. It's mainly used for like JavaScript on the back end, but it's really great for writing tools as well. It's got a great ecosystem and a great way to kind of share modules and packages as well through npm. And I'll go over that a bit too. And another thing I do at Cordova and PhoneGap is releases. So I've been the release master for maybe the last 2 years, 3 years. We try to take turns, but it usually ends up with somebody asking me to help them out, and I've just become the expert there. So If you have a broken release, it's probably my fault. Thanks. I gave them my Twitter. I mean, they could find me. Agenda. So what I'm going to be going over in this talk, I'm going to start off by a quick little overview and the history, because I think that's kind of important, especially when it comes to what's PhoneGap, what's Cordova. I'm going to do a little hello world, show you guys a little code sample from there, how easy it is to get started. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about, I guess I skipped the desktop app and the CLI. I'll be doing that. And then I'll be going over a little bit about the PhoneGap developer app, which is really the optimal workflow, I would say, when you're developing PhoneGap apps. I'm going to touch on plugins, and then I'm going to dive into a little sample app that one of my colleagues made using Onzen UI. It's another framework, kind of like Ionic, and then an Angular backend. Well, not backend, but Angular as the framework of choice as well. I also do not claim to be an expert at Angular. I've used it once for an extensive side project about a year ago, and then I had to touch up a bit to prepare for this talk. But I'll talk about it as much as I can. And then we'll go talk a little bit about PhoneGap Build and a quick little stop on PhoneGap Enterprise. And then we'll end it with PhoneGap Day and do the raffle. So that should be fun. So, what is PhoneGap? Why am I here? PhoneGap is an open source framework which allows you to build mobile apps using web tech. It's very similar to Ionic. Ionic and PhoneGap actually are interchangeable. You can kind of use both together. You could use one or the other. They all kind of use Cordova under the hood. Just some quick facts. So the way PhoneGap works is it runs in a Chromeless web view, and it displays your local HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So what that means is right when your app starts, it opens up a web view like your browser, like Safari on iOS, without any of the URL back, forward buttons, so it's Chromeless. And then we're literally just displaying the files that you package with the app. There is a little bit of, you can display remote files as well, but that's not our main intended use case. It easily deploys. You can easily deploy to Android, iOS, Windows, your desktop, browser, Firefox. We support a lot of different platforms. It's got a rich plugin ecosystem. So the plugins in Cordova is pretty much how you talk to the native side of all these devices. On iOS, you're probably using, if you're building a native app, you're using Objective-C, you're using Swift, one of those two languages. And say you want to use the camera, it's a specific function that you have to write. Say you want to grab the contacts, a specific framework you have to go after. And then on Android, you're using Java. In a similar scenario, you're having to rewrite all this stuff in Java, and they have their own way of doing things. So what we've done is we've made little plugins that have those native components. So it's got Java's way to open the camera. It's got the Objective-C way to open the camera. And then we put a JavaScript layer on top of it that's the same. And what you can do is you include the plugin in your application, and you do one API call to the JavaScript API, and then when you build, it'll build the iOS and Android. It'll be the same call for you, and you never actually have to go into the native code. So if you're comfortable with web technology, you can primarily stay in web technology. Of course, if there's something you want to do on the native side and a plugin doesn't exist or it doesn't support the platform you want to support, and in those situations, you're going to have to dive a little bit into the native side. And as a mobile developer, it is nice to know a little bit about how all these native platforms work as well. PhoneGap uses Apache Cordova under the hood. This Apache Cordova thing, I don't know, yes, I keep saying it, but it doesn't really make sense what it means. Compatible with other Cordova-based projects. So I'll touch on those 2 points right now. Apache Cordova. To really explain what Apache Cordova is, I think I first need to go over the history of PhoneGap. So the history. 2008, PhoneGap was created at a small little company called Nitobi up in Vancouver, BC. I joined that team in 2009. 2009, Android support was added. That was a pretty big milestone because originally we were only doing iOS. 2011, Adobe buys Natobi, and then a part of that acquisition, because we had such a large community and a lot of different contributors, it wasn't just us at this point. We had IBM contributing, we had BlackBerry contributing, and they were helping out develop Cordova because they really liked the idea and they kind of liked the mission of it. So to ensure that everyone, like, look, we want this to stay open source, we want this to stay free, we want you guys to continue to contribute. Let's move this to an open source foundation where we can all guarantee that it will stay open source. So during that period, we decided that we're going to donate the code of Cordova to Apache, and I'm heavily involved in the Apache Cordova community right now, just making sure we're still releasing on time, making sure we're adding good features, we're not seeing a lot of regressions, those type of things. And then PhoneGap, since the donation to Apache, has become a distribution of Cordova. And there are a lot of different distributions out there. This is something that we highly encourage in the PhoneGap Cordova community. We want people to be using it. We want people to be integrating into their tools, because the more people that use it, the more eyes that are looking at the code, the more contributors hopefully that we get back, the more plugins that we get, and then the larger the community becomes. It's a pretty great cycle. So PhoneGap is like Cordova. It uses Cordova, but then we offer a few extra features on top to make developing easier, make your lives easier. So I'm going to start by doing some demos. I'm going to start with the PhoneGap desktop. So you go to the website, you go to our docs, and they have installation instructions. And one of them is if you don't want to use the CLI, you're kind of afraid of the CLI, you just want something that you can easily click buttons, create this app, and start developing for it right away. And that's kind of where the PhoneGap desktop came from. It's still very early, I would say. I'm not sure if it's officially, it hasn't hit its 1.0 release, so it's not officially like, I'm not really sure the word I'm trying to find here, but it's coming. It's getting better all the time. We're doing releases for it fairly often. So to create an app using this PhoneGap desktop app, you just click the plus, create a new PhoneGap project. Oh, I am not. Hold on, I'm going to go back a step here. There we go. Okay, you guys can all see that? So go ahead. So we click the little plus button, create new PhoneGap project. Pretty simple so far. Choose a path where you want to store it. I'll store it in PhoneGap, sure. Guess I got to choose a new folder. Hold on, excuse me. Okay, I'm going to call this Hello World, simple. And then, oh, guess I can't because I forgot to clean. I'll call it My App. There we go, that works. And then generally you have to give it an ID. This is kind of what it uses when it installs on your device. You can't have an app with the same ID on your device. It's got to be unique. If there is another app with that same ID, it would replace that app. You wouldn't run into it until you are installing on the device, and at that point, I think it would just overwrite it. Good idea. Well, a lot of that stuff installing on device, we're relying on the tools that the platforms give us. So, Android gives us the ADB tools. That's what we use to install on device. So for some of those things, it's kind of out of our hands to add features, but we could request features as well. So it's a good one. So usually we go reverse domain name style. So my app, create the project. Here it is. And now the cool thing about the desktop app is it actually immediately throws it onto a server. So right here, it gives you a server. And the desktop app is actually supposed to be paired with a mobile app. So we have a mobile app called the PhoneGap developer app. It's on, I'm going to talk about it a bit more in a bit. But essentially, you can pair this app with the PhoneGap developer app, and then as you're doing any live changes, it'll actually show those changes right on your device. It's definitely the suggested workflow. I'll get to that in a bit. I just wanted to show how easy it is to create. We can actually go look at this project, but instead I'm going to skip this and I'll show you the next project. Yeah. It is. You can go into settings and you can change the port. Once again, this is still very early. We want to be able to offer more of the features that the CLI has to this workflow. So it'll come. It'll get there. All right, PhoneGap CLI. So this is the main way I would say to use PhoneGap today. It's the same thing with Cordova as well. Generally, you want to download it from NPM. If you don't have NPM, it probably means you don't have Node installed, so that's a pretty big dependency. I would, install Node.js. And then NPM is the package manager for Node.js, and it's got, I don't know, millions of modules on there. It's a great way to distribute your packages. We love it. So you go npm install PhoneGap -g. The -g means it's global. So anywhere in your terminal, you can type PhoneGap now, and it's available. That's how easy it is. And all you have to do is you create an app, and you run the app. And in fact, I will show you how easy it is. Okay. I can make it bigger. How's that? Okay. Let me just make sure I don't have it. Okay, it's gone. So PhoneGap, create, hello world. So this is going to create the PhoneGap project, and then I can CD into it. And you can see it's saying creating a new Cordova project. That's because we use Cordova under the hood. CD into hello world. We could take a look at what's in here. You'll see that there's a config.xml. Sam chatted a bit about it. There's a hooks directory. There's a platforms folder, a plugins folder, and a www folder. Just to quickly look at some of these files. The config.xml, it's where you define your icons. It's where you can define which plugins you want to use. There's a bunch of preferences that are platform specific you can add in here, like the web view bounce one. I think that's an iOS specific one. So when you're scrolling on the app and you don't want it to bounce like a normal browser does, you could turn it off and on. And a lot of these are, so we have referenced online, so they're very easy to find out which ones you need and what to do. And then the allow intent stuff down here, this is whitelisting. So a security feature that's built into PhoneGap is you have to be very specific about which URLs you want your app to go to. That way, if someone tries to hijack it, whichever way, they still only have permission to go to specific URLs. And then you have the www directory, which is an important one. And inside of here, the main file is index.html. And it's a very simple HTML. This is just kind of the Hello World app that comes packaged in. It's got a header. It's got an important piece is this device ready event. So Cordova, we fire this device ready event once the bridge between JavaScript and native is ready. So if you're installing any plugins, this is an event you always have to wait for. Don't try to do any work before. So this is like your initialization event. This is like your window.initialize or body.onReady. Device ready is the event that you want to wait for. And then you can start doing any type of interactions that you want. Another thing that's in here, looks like this one doesn't have it yet, but I'll show it actually in the next one. Let's continue on. And to show you this app running, so platforms and plugins directory, they're not necessarily they're not that important. You shouldn't be checking them into your version control like Git. In fact, you should be saving them in config.xml. You can, on prepare, which is a command that comes up a lot, it will fetch those from npm automatically. And that way, it's just a little nicer in your version control. So if I want to run this, and I think that's what I'll do, just to show you. So I've created it, and now I'm going to run it. With Cordova, you generally have to add which platforms you want to run on. But with PhoneGap, it'll automatically add it, and it'll automatically save it in your config.xml, which is really nice. So we just have to go PhoneGap, run Android, and I want to do it on my device, so I'm going to go -- device. I have my device plugged in here, and I will try to get it to show you. Looks like my screen sharing app, my screen mirroring app is not looking too happy here. I'm going to close it, rerun it. No device is found. Looks like I will have to unplug and replug. Problem solving. Oh, I see what happened. I think I accidentally turned off developer mode. So on these phones, you have to turn on developer mode. There we go. Oh. There we go. So I'm going to go ahead and run it. PhoneGap run Android -- device. This will take a second. So what this is doing, it's running. It's going to add Android as a platform if it isn't added. In this case, it already is added. Right here, the first run, it did Cordova platform add -- save Android. And then what it will do is it will do a Cordova run Android under the hood. There we go. Success. So that bottom blue bar right here, this is not a part of the app. This is just the screen sharing app that I'm using. They like to have icons. You can't see it over here. So this is just the Hello World app I showed you. It's very simple. And it goes green when the device ready event fires. Continuing on. Now, to talk about the PhoneGap developer app. This is actually one I would love to demo, but it requires that your device and your laptop be on the same network. And it also requires that the network allow you to use like ports. And Adobe's network doesn't allow that, kind of ironically. But in our office, we have like a separate network that we use to test this. So I won't be able to actually demo it, but I will talk about it because this is the suggested workflow. So the way it works is you go to the app stores, you download the PhoneGap developer app. And then if you go to that link right here, app.phonegap.com, it actually walks you through the steps of setting it up. But essentially, once you create your app and you're inside of it, instead of running PhoneGap, run Android, which requires me to have Android pre-configured on my machine. That's something I didn't show you guys, but it's a pain, and it takes a bit of time. And if I was targeting iOS, I would have to have Xcode, I would have to have my provisioning profile set up on my iOS device before I can launch any application from my machine to my device. That's just developer steps. Everyone has to kind of go through these steps. But with PhoneGap, we're trying to kind of make it simpler. We want you to be able to just download this app, type in PhoneGap serve. It gives you an IP address. So right here, 172.20.0.224 on the 3000 port. And then the PhoneGap developer app, it looks kind of like this, just to show you. So this is what it looks like, and what it does is it asks you for the IP address to enter in. So I could enter this address in. Right now it would fail because we're not on the same network, and if I was, Adobe would just be blocking it. It wouldn't work here. And you would click connect, and then it would show that app in here. And as you make any changes to your app, as long as you're connected, it will continue to send the updates immediately to your phone. So now you're developing an app on your phone without actually deploying to your phone. So it gets rid of the whole Android SDK step, iOS Xcode step. It makes it really, really easy to share with like managers, clients, that type of stuff, because just give them the IP link, give them the IP address, like invite them over, give them the IP address. You could even host it. We have an example where we threw an app on Heroku, and then you can enter in the Heroku link, and it'll just download the app. And if you make any changes, they can look at it, they can comment. They're using it like a full app, everything that they would normally do. One of the things with this is it includes all of the plugins that we think are important. So it's got the Cordova core plugins, and it's got a few PhoneGap specific ones, a few very popular ones in the community, like Bluetooth support. But if you want to use a third-party plugin with this, currently we don't offer that in the App Store because you'd have to rebuild the app with that plugin. So you could theoretically download the app. By the way, all this stuff that I'm showing you, everything's open source. Like everything's got readmes on steps on how to do it yourself and take it or integrate it into your own workflows if you want to go that route. So you could compile your own PhoneGap developer app and go from there. But I swear, this is the coolest demo, and I really wish I could show it to you today. We'll make sure that it'll definitely be running at PhoneGap Day. I promise you that. You know what? That's a good idea, and I wish I had done that earlier. The hotel wouldn't allow me either, so. So let's chat a little bit about plugins. There's a website, plugins.cordova.io. You go there, and you can search any plugins from our ecosystem. You can select which platforms you want to support, and it sorts by quality. I think that's some sort of weird algorithm based on stars and issues closed and pull requests closed, that kind of stuff. You can also sort by downloads, and it shows you, for most popular, and it also says which platforms they support, which is really neat. So depending on which platforms you want to target. You can also go to NPM's website and search for plugins, but it's a little easier to come here because these are already filtered out from all the rest of the noise of the NPM ecosystem. And then I've also gone ahead and linked all of these so you can actually go and see the readmes on NPM if you wanted to. These are just some of the most popular ones I just put up, and some of the core ones that Cordova works on. Push is a pretty cool one. Whitelisting is very important. I chatted a little bit about it earlier, but if you want to, whichever URLs you want to have access to, you want your app to have access to, you have to whitelist. Plugin management, it's very similar to adding platforms. You want to go PhoneGap plugin add, the name, the ID of the plugin. So in this case, the ID is Cordova plugin device. And then you want to go --save. So that's something that we didn't have for quite a while, and it was a little frustrating because if you're working in a team, you could end up with different versions of plugins depending on when you added the plugin. where you'd be kind of forced to check your plugins in because there's no real way to excuse me, come back to a state where everyone has the same versions of everything. So this --save has made life a lot easier for working in teams. So you go --save, it's going to fetch it from npm, it's going to save that plugin to config.xml and save the version as well. And you can also add plugins via Git URLs. So if you don't want to fetch by the plugin ID, in this case, Cordova plugin device, I could go PhoneGap plugin add and then link to the Git URL of the plugin repo. And it'll go fetch it, do the same thing. I can go --save and it'll save the URL instead of the version. So it'll always know to fetch from Git. So definitely check that out. It's a good tip to have. Let's chat a little bit about frameworks. Since it's essentially a web app, you can use any framework you use on the web. If you want to use jQuery, go for it. I know everyone here is a big Angular fan, so AngularJS is right up there. React.js is very popular right now, so that might be worth checking out. Backbone.js, Meteor, Ember, Knockout, and then some more UI frameworks like Framework 7. Some of these UI frameworks work really well with frameworks like Angular and React. So Framework 7 is a very popular one. It's very simple. Ionic, which Sam demoed, it's really nice too. It's got real tight integration with Angular. If you're interested in that, I would check it out. Topcoat, Bootstrap, Touchstone, which is kind of a React one. Onsen UI, which is kind of based on Topcoat. jQuery Mobile, and there's so many more. Like the ecosystem for frameworks is, I would say it's even rivals our plugin ecosystem. There's just a new one coming out every week. Feels like it's pretty hard to keep up with what's new, what's hot, but I would say pick one that you're comfortable with, kind of go with it. Angular is a very popular one, but you still might want a UI framework as well. That's for like designing buttons, navigation, that kind of stuff. So I'm going to demo an Onsen 2 and Angular Media Finder app that my colleague Holly Shinsky made. Shalinsky, I think I forgot an L in there. I'll have to fix that. No, it's Shinsky. Sorry. If you're on Twitter, I would definitely recommend following her. She does a lot of research with comparing different frameworks. So if that's something you're interested in, she has a lot of demo apps, with Ionic and Angular, with React and whatever. This is the newest one she just did, Onsen 2 and Angular. And this is the one that I'm going to be going over. So if you go here, click the link, you can just git clone this right down. I've already done it. Right here. I've already cloned it and I've CD'd into it. And you can see there's no platforms and no plugins. And this is because she didn't check it in. So if she had saved platform, if she had done Cordova platform or PhoneGap platform add save Android, it would have saved that to config.xml. She actually hasn't saved any platforms. She saved all her plugins, but no platforms. So that's simple to solve. I could just go PhoneGap run if I wanted to, but I'm going to add it specifically. And I'm going to save it. Okay, it's been saved. And just to look at config.xml. The main things to notice, so she's got splash screens saying, this says where the splash screens are and what to use when you're using different device sizes, because you don't want the same splash screen for an iPad as you would for an iPhone. You'd want different resolutions. So this kind of manages that a bit. And then she's got platform-specific preferences. So like for iOS, these are the icons she wants to use. These are the splash screens. And then, so these are the plugins that she saved. She saved the whitelist plugin, the status bar, media. Media is for like playing audio, video. Status bar is so you have that little status bar at the top. You can kind of color it. You can theme it. Whitelist is so you can access outside URLs. And then she's also, now that I did PhoneGap platform add Android --save, it went and fetched Android from NPM and it saved the version that it grabbed. So now in the future, I don't have to re-add that. So looking at this now, when I went and fetched the platforms, it actually ran the prepare command, which will install all the plugins that are in config.xml. So all my plugins are installed now, Android's installed, config.xml, my www, which is what I got from her, which is containing right now the Onsen 2 and Angular app. So let's run it. Excuse me. As this is happening, I'm going to show my phone again. It should put this in the background right when it's ready. Here we go. So this is the new app. It's the Media Finder app. I don't think she had a splash screen. Nothing showed up there. But the basics are she's got a search field here. She searched for Gwen. She's got a media type, song, video, and audiobook are the options. And then she's got how many results she wants to find. And then allow explicit results, get results. So here you can see so what this app does is it pings the iTunes API and it pulls all that information. And then I could click one of these. 4 in the morning, tells me the price, gives me all the information it got back, and it got it back in JSON form, so that was pretty easy to parse. And then I can even preview it. Everyone can hear that? And I'm going to show you the code, but let's just kind of look at some of the things. You can see it does scrolling pretty well. You know, all these buttons are very responsive. It's got a cool little sidebar. She doesn't really have much coded into it. It's just there for looks right now. But so the UI you're looking at here, this is Onsen 2. It's a new. They just released a second version of their UI framework. Let's take a look at it, at the code. Just some kind of nice features of Onsen. It's got some good scrolling. It kind of has its own way of handling navigation, which once you learn, it's pretty easy. It's got different components like that slider menu I just showed you, very easy to kind of go back and forth. It supports material design. So that app right now didn't have material design. She actually intended me to show this on an iPhone, but I like Android better, so I'm showing it on Android. But the library itself does support material design if that's a pattern you want to use. Let's take a look at this. Let's start with index.html. A few things to note. She does have this commented out, but this is another new important piece, is we've added the content security policy, CSP. So if you're making websites at all, you might be familiar with CSP. It's becoming standardized across all these different browsers. It's kind of another way, it's slowly replacing our whitelist, in fact, of how you should define which URLs you can go to, which protocols you could use, things like that. So it's starting to become the suggested way of doing things. It's just something important to keep in mind. She's got, a few meta tags, links to some fonts and stuff. And here's the title. The main things to notice here are, she's got Onsen UI as her CSS. She has the sliding menu right here. You can see it's kind of its own. It almost reminds me of a directive in Android in that sense. Go ahead. Sorry? Yeah. Yeah, it does. So it's just like how people sometimes reference scripts online. It's a common pattern where you see people referencing jQuery on some Google server instead of packaging it in themselves. I personally prefer to package things in myself because it saves load time. But in this example, she's just popped in the URL. It works just as well. She just has to make sure she whitelists that URL. That's the most important part. So she's got a sliding menu here, and it seems pretty straightforward to add. And then she's got her template. So this is kind of like the container where everything is. So this is a single page web app. And as she selects different things in the navigation, it's going to just pop things inside and outside of this template. Just right in where this comment is, essentially. So the rest of this HTML will kind of be involved for the rest of the app, but what comes inside here will be coming in and out. So let's look at some of those other pages. I think I'll start with the JS, actually. So if you've used Angular a lot, you should probably be very comfortable with loading your dependencies at the top here, having your controllers for all your different files. Like this is pretty common stuff. One of the coolest features here is here's where she's doing her request to the iTunes server. So it's a JSON-P request. She gets it, and then she returns this value. So this is called when the detail controller, the list controller gets it. And then how she's adding things to the navigator, she's got this myNavigator object, and then she just pushes a page to it. So this is how she's kind of built up her navigation model, saying what page to go to next. It looks pretty straightforward. If you look at something like the detail page, you'll see things like she's using ng source for images and videos. She's using ng hide if the value doesn't exist. Things like that. Those are common Angular practices. Onzen is very proud of being kind of a framework agnostic itself. You can use React with it. You can use Angular. You could use, Backbone. Same thing with Framework 7 and a bunch of these other frameworks. Okay. I think I'm going to go back to the slides. Any more questions about this demo app? Looks like I ended up losing it, but it's all right. Came back. PhoneGap build. It's our build service in the cloud. Adobe offers it. You can remotely build your apps. So once again, if you don't want to have those SDKs installed, you don't have your development machines configured, you just upload your www file, your config.xml to build.phonegap.com. It'll build an APK for you. It'll build an IPA, like that's for iOS. It'll build a Windows Phone 8 app, and then you can actually download it via QR code, or you can email it to yourself on your phone and install it, or there's various different ways. And even with iOS, you would upload your provisioning profiles up there so you can actually install that on your device. I would say check it out. I wasn't going to demo it today. PhoneGap Enterprise, this is kind of our new enterprise solution. It integrates with Adobe Experience Manager. So you can kind of manage your websites and your mobile apps in one space. Not going to be going into this either today, but if you're interested, enterprise.phonegap.com is where you can kind of get more information. And PhoneGap Day US. So we're going to be coming back to Salt Lake, January 28th, 29th, and 30th. It's our first time doing the event here. This event's been going on since 2011. It's very popular. We usually get hundreds of developers who come by. We're doing a full day of workshop on the 28th. 18 workshops, in fact. They're in parallel, so you won't be able to attend them all. But if you really want to get your hands dirty with PhoneGap, that's a good time to do it. And then we have a full day of conference on the January 29th. We have speakers from all over the community. It's not just PhoneGap specific. It's got all the big players in the field, all our contributors, Google, Microsoft, IBM, Intel, everyone's coming out for it. The entire PhoneGap team is coming out for it, which is going to be fun. And then on the 30th, all attendees get a free ski day as well. So that's kind of cool. at the Sundance Mountain Resort, which I'm sure you all know more about than I do. I'm looking forward to that part. Tickets are 50% off for everybody who attended this talk, so that's pretty huge as well. The code is PGDay-meetup. I would definitely check it out. And for all you people who made it out here through the snow, it was a cold walk. I walked from the Marriott, and I didn't think it was going to be like that. My San Francisco skin can't handle this. You all get to participate in the raffle, so we're going to be picking 10 winners today. So I think the odds are pretty good here. Ryan, you want to come on up? Docs, Cordova website, search, build. And once again, I'm going to share these slides, and I had links throughout it, the whole place, so be sure to check that out. And if you have any questions, you can ask me after the raffle, and then also Twitter, GitHub. Email, whatever. I got cards. Cool. You ready?
All right. Want to give a big round of applause to Steve. Also to Sam for speaking as well. Sam as well. So these PhoneGap guys are awesome. So normally we have more people out than this. Looks like we've got just a little dip in numbers, probably